Today, we're going to be checking out the Airis Effects Savage Drive version 5. Now, the Savage Drive is a really important overdrive to me. I've had different versions of it over the years on this channel, and it's important to me because it's the main overdrive I've been using for my metal tones for over half a decade, about 6 years. Years ago, I picked up a version 2 Savage Drive, and it was the first overdrive that really brought the aggression and tightness and kind of did that thing with my amp that I had been trying to do for years. At that point, I'd owned some other boutique drives and like a TS9 and an 808, and none of them did what this drive did. Like, finally, I was able to get close to that tone that I had been looking for so long. It's also important to me because that's around the time I decided I'm going to start doing YouTube. I had some cool pieces of gear, and that drive, I really started getting the sounds I wanted to get, and I wanted to compare it to other stuff that I have. For the love of God, don't go watch those old videos. They're terrible. But this drive was really at the beginning of this YouTube channel. Over the years, from version 1 all the way up to now with version 5, there's been several different iterations. They've mostly stayed the same. For the most part, they have been the bite and tight controls along with the volume and drive. And the bite and tight were essentially an upper mid kind of boost. They added that pick attack and aggression. And the tight, of course, cleaned up the low end, the low mid range. And they've stayed like that for most of the time. They've changed enclosures. They've gotten top mount jacks. I know the voicings have been tweaked just slightly over the years, but they haven't massively changed. Until now, the version 5 is probably the biggest overhaul of the Savage Drive ever. So as you notice, the major change with this is this now has 6 knobs as opposed to 4, and it has 4 EQ knobs as opposed to 2. Now, before you just had the bite and tight control, like I said, this you have the low mid, the high, and the high mid. And this allows you to much further sculpt your tone. You have the low control, which essentially is how much low end you do or do not have, essentially how tight it is, basically that tight control. But now you can boost or cut areas in the low mid range. If you're, say, getting too tight, you're already boosting kind of into a tight amp, you can actually kind of boost up that low mid range a bit to get a bit of extra thump and palm mute. Or if you're like me and you find that you have a bit of a wooden tone you like to get rid of, you can just ever so slightly notch that out. So you can still have this full, really chunky tone, but you're not getting anything that you don't want. Now, the high is going to be, your top end, how cutting, how present the sound is. But then that upper mid is going to be really that aggression, that cut through the mix that you're going to want. So what I'm saying here is this extra flexibility really allows you to dial this thing into the amplifier and allows you to essentially mold it to whatever amplifier you're using. You have something that's, really bottom heavy and a lot of low mid range, then you can dial that out. If you're using something that needs a bit of help in the low mid range to thicken up, you can do that. If you're using something that's too dark, you can brighten it up and add some cut. If you're going into something that's already pretty cutting, you can dial that back. You can set this up to work with just about anything. So we're going to hear this inside of a mix and outside of a mix. We're going to be going into the blue channel of my 5153 Stealth 50 watt. We're going to be using my T-type solar with a Ragnarok in the bridge. And then we're going to hear this outside of a mix compared with the V4 Savage Drive so you can hear them side by side. Let's check it out. So as you can hear, I have this really dialed in for this amplifier. It's aggressive, it's tight while still remaining full. And it's actually, if you listen, a lot cleaner sounding than the version 4. And that's because with the low mid and high mid controls, along with the low and high, I was really able to dial in what I want without getting in excess of anything that I didn't. So I really do like this drive, and it's going to just live on my board indefinitely now. And I'm also going to compare this to the other flagship Airis FX overdrives in the future, so look out for that. These are available now through Airis FX. I will have a link down below. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay metal.